The advancement of artificial intelligence in all aspects of healthcare is well underway, and nowhere more than in medical imaging. By default, AI is embedded in modalities for visualization, but the next wave is in diagnosis and predictive analytics. Understanding how the patient is engaged with their disease or health can best be described through medical imaging. Medical imaging and reports that are then translated and brought about into a form that can be used to develop artificial intelligence, apply artificial intelligence, and evaluate how artificial intelligence compares to the real-world evidence. This is the fundamental purpose of Advocate AI that we're going to discuss today. So the question is how to accelerate your journey and adopt and evaluate AI with Advocate AI services. Do you advocate AI? Getting prepared for artificial intelligence is something that we're all embracing. It's estimated that as much as $3.5 billion will have been spent in the development of artificial intelligence across diagnostic imaging and oncology, and as much as $20 billion will be spent by 2031 in the adoption and application of it. The motivation toward advocating AI comes from three pillars: the promotion of value of care delivery, the rising costs of delivery while the reimbursement is decreasing, and the acceleration of adoption of AI for automation as resources in providing services decreases. Providers stand to gain a substantial value by preparing for the adoption of AI with data as their strategic asset. Advocate AI helps create that strategic asset. At the core of Advocate AI is a data cooperative. A cooperative of de-identified data that can be shared by providers, with developers, with biopharma, and amongst themselves to understand how artificial intelligence can learn, train, and be applied to patient populations. More importantly, insights from this information can drive clinical reporting, improve revenue opportunities for diagnostic test follow-ups, and insights into population health from the abstracted data from the reports. This is in response to the market trends we just spoke about, how Advocate AI can produce an ROI for all market participants in aiding in the value of care delivery through the ability to measure the care outcomes, to automate and aid in the adoption of evaluating and aiding the understanding of the impact of AI in imaging, and to share in the revenue associated with data as an asset from the real world between those that are developing it and those that are creating it, and then providing a feedback loop as to how the artificial intelligence is performing against your specific populations. Data as an asset drives process change. That's when data becomes the asset, and it's an opportunity to create revenue and cost savings for all of those that participate in the data cooperative. But data as a clinical asset is really about the conversion of raw data, which is free text, phrases, medical images, and other elements that are largely collected at the time of a patient engagement. Those raw elements are not consumable by artificial intelligence, so our Advocate AI automatically assists in converting those unstructured elements into indexed, abstracted key terms, measured objects from images, and descriptions of organs that are now all addressable in a database so that artificial intelligence and software can interpret the content of that unstructured data. It's like conversion of raw sugar into digestible assets. The goal of having data as an asset is not just the conversion of it, but in its adoption, driving process change and expediting the adoption of artificial intelligence. So ask yourself, do you advocate AI today? Understand that question in the context of, do you have access to data that allows you to readily test diagnostic AI against your patient population? Do you use automated tools to evaluate and compare artificial intelligent algorithms for the same disease to see what might work better on your patient population? Did the revision of that artificial intelligence algorithm have an impact on the outcomes? Do you monetize your data with pharma and AI software companies as they generate revenue for your hospital? Can you share in the cost savings that a data cooperative can bring to the process of artificial intelligence? Do you mine your diagnostic reports for missing image opportunities or value-based care items that can be measured and reported upon? And most importantly, do you integrate imaging into your population health management strategy using screening AI tools and report abstracts to help characterize patients at risk? All of these elements drive toward the solution of advocating AI. So ask yourself, do you advocate AI? What does that platform look like? The platform is composed at the core of a data cooperative between providers, AI software companies, and biopharma that share millions of studies across multiple facilities, organized through a cohort builder, which allows you to build data sets for testing, evaluating, training, and building patient populations that can be modeled around specific biopharma hypotheses. At the core of Advocate AI are tools that automate all of this information, organization, sharing, and security. But at the same time, being web-enabled allows for collaboration, for teams to provide annotation and collaboration around the development of artificial intelligence and the development of algorithms for early detection of chronic disease, for predictive outcomes, and to pre-sense possible pathologies where biopharma can have applications. It's a common platform that processes the data so that biopharma and the provider and AI software companies can come together and improve collaboration, reducing the time to market for both AI software, for biopharma concepts, as well as to speed and evaluate the impact of artificial intelligence in medical imaging. The business case for those that are contributing data to Advocate AI's data cooperative is fairly straightforward. It is in the revenue generating, operational effectiveness, and strategic opportunities that Advocate AI enhances the provider environment so that they can readily adopt artificial intelligence, that they can create teaching opportunities and share in the evaluation of early emergence of AI tools, biopharma hypotheses, and more importantly, they can create revenue streams through the licensing of the data managed in an NTT DATA environment to help fund new projects, new clinical programs that engage the patient in better outcomes. The process of engaging Advocate AI for your environment is straightforward. It starts with an innovative idea to leverage the unstructured data to create it into an asset and integrate it into your care delivery system. Specifically to artificial intelligence for medical imaging, our platform begins a discussion with the client around how does this platform integrate into my environment? Straightforward, using HL7 and DICOM. Once we've been through the security and technical review, we go through a contract execution that describes how data can be accessed by whom and the informed consent that's required before any data is shared. We then perform the integration with your HL7 and DICOM sources, and those that are not DICOM in surgery, dermatology, and other areas, and bring that information into our inventory management system, where we begin to, with consent, market that data and find opportunities where people can leverage the real world evidence to develop artificial intelligence, as well as to model or simulate patient populations in biopharma. In the end, NTT also is ready to help with consulting as you adopt and evaluate and to determine which algorithms are most appropriate for your environment and how analytics can be integrated into the normal standard of care at your institution. For those that are data consumers, the process is very similar. It starts with a hypothesis, and together we develop a proposal for a feasibility study. What's critical before pharma sets out on the billions of dollars invested in drug development or applications detection for drug applications is a feasibility study. The feasibility study defines the parameters that they're looking for in real world data and makes the hypothesis that should these be present, these could be used to impact outcomes. We then execute a feasibility study contract. NTT gathers from the data cooperative multiple sources of information, pulls together an outcomes assessment that validates the project goals, to demonstrate that the data elements are available. It allows the client to properly scope, design, and put together a timeline for a full study and understand the risks associated with the full study. Upon the successful outcome of the assessment, a real-world proposal is made, and rapidly, NTT and the partner put together a real-world study. And through our consulting services for data science, project management, and other life sciences offerings, can rapidly bring the full real-world evidence proposal to completion. Artificial intelligence is well underway, as we've described here today. Advocate AI is a strong platform to help bring together real-world evidence for the provider to improve care delivery, as well as to artificial intelligence software companies who need data for machine learning, training, and testing, and biopharma who are developing large clinical studies and want to do feasibility studies on what is available in real-world evidence related to medical imaging. We've talked about how medical imaging talks and describes how patients engage with their disease and treatment, and why medical imaging is so important to the outcomes of patient care. But why NTT Data? Is because we create partnerships that drive success. We have over 20 years in imaging and healthcare IT, with over 10 years in integrating electronic medical record information. We bring together both of these services into practices that serve the provider, payer, and life sciences practices, just like Advocate AI does today. We have a vision to drive a fabric of interoperability and data as an asset to deliver population health, in making engagements with patients, patient care more precise, so that we improve clinical outcomes and simplify regulatory reporting. So we're here today to thank you for your time and to offer you an opportunity to take a survey and answer a few questions about your path on the adoption of artificial intelligence or how you are participating in the emergence of this technology. And in exchange for that brief survey, our first 100 respondents will receive a t-shirt as a thank you gift asking whether or not you advocate AI. If you'd like more information from NTT DATA about Advocate AI for the provider market, or as a AI software company or biopharma interested in large data sets, please email us at advocateai@nttdata.com or learn more about Advocate AI at NTT Data Services in Healthcare Services under Provider. Thank you for your time today and have a great day.